Hi, you're watching the Sequire Spotlight. I'm Carmel Fisher, VP of Platform Services here at Sequire Shrax, also the host of the Sequire Spotlight, where we highlight the market news, as well as some of our significant companies doing great things in the capital market sphere. With me, I have CEO Chris Bunka from Lexaria Bioscience, and the ticker on NASDAQ exchange is LEXX. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Carmel. Nice to be here.
Great having you. We are excited to hear more about the current developments within Lexaria. So please give us an update firstly on what Lexaria Bioscience does and what your current strategies are for the next, say, 2 quarters.
Absolutely. Well, Lexaria Bioscience has developed a drug delivery platform technology that helps the body to absorb fat-soluble vitamins and drugs. A lot of people don't realize that water-soluble things, many vitamins absorb very easily. Fat-soluble things really don't. And our technology really gives those fat-soluble drugs a boost to allow them to absorb much more efficiently, but also much, much more quickly. And those two very simple aspects actually have profound implications for a number of different drugs that people could take. So we are working on implementing our commercial strategies around that technology. It's highly patented, and we've started an FDA registration process for one of our lead candidates that's going along very, very well. And one of our other lead candidates, we are doing a lot of work with Fortune 500 companies actually around the world who are currently investigating our technology for possible use in their products in many different countries. So it's an exciting time.
Definitely sounds it. So you mentioned patents, and that really piqued my interest. I see that there's a very new one in Mexico. Tell us more about that and also everything else that you have patented and where.
Yeah, we're really proud of our IP, our intellectual property portfolio. We now have 27 patents that have been granted all in the last several years. So this is something that's changing and improving all the time. The most recent patent we just announced was in Mexico. That was I think our second or third patent in Mexico. And Mexico is important to us for some strategic reasons. Of course, it won't be lost on anyone that Mexico is part of NAFTA. And so for accessing the large US market, having NAFTA accessibility is really, really important. That particular patent was granted for a number of different molecules with our technology, but includes using cannabinoids partly to treat heart disease. And that's really serendipitous for us because one of our lead candidates with FDA is using cannabidiol or CBD to treat hypertension. So we have 27 patents granted all over the world: India, the European Union, Japan, America, of course. We have also around another 50 patents pending. So our intellectual property portfolio is really, really growing, and we think it's going to continue to grow and add a lot of value for the company in the quarters to come.
Right. So you mentioned the hypertension treatment being one of the main needs that your solution fills. Are there any other ancillary, needs that are filled with the technology that you have?
There really are. And I have to say, Lexaria is one of these companies that we follow the science. So if we do experimentation or we do human clinical or animal studies in a particular direction, and if we don't get a lot of success, well, then we don't keep pushing it. But when we do get success, we follow that science. And our hypertension program developed that way. We originally did a PK, a pharmacokinetic test in humans, just to see whether our tech would deliver cannabidiol more effectively than most of the things you buy out there on the market. And we were really, really pleased to learn that it does. It was effective. But we accidentally discovered that it actually lowered blood pressure. So we've done a number of human clinical studies as recently as July of this year, where we finished a large study. And because we've noticed in every one of these studies this decrease in human blood pressure, and by the way, we are not seeing that very much, if at all, with generic CBD. Only when it's processed with our patented technology are we witnessing that scale of blood pressure reduction. So that's what led us to a very successful pre-IND meeting with FDA in July. They've approved our plan, and we expect to go into registered phase 1B human clinical studies around next March or April. Now, before that, sometime in September or October, we're going to have results from our most recent human clinical study. So hypertension is a huge market, Carmen. It's a $28 billion a year drug market. We also have evidence that not only does dihydrotec CBD lower blood pressure, it also improves something called arterial elasticity. And that means that we're restoring some of your body's natural function of healthy arteries, which normally are quite elastic, but over the years, over time, you maybe put on weight, maybe your diet's not right, those arteries tend to stiffen. And as they stiffen, your blood pressure increases. So that's another application very closely related to hypertension. But in addition to that, we're also investigating dihydrotec CBD for possible utility in seizures, possible utility in diseases of the central nervous system, things like Alzheimer's, for example. So lots of really interesting applications. And we do feel we're one of the most advanced companies in the world today doing CBD research.
Excellent. On the research topic, can you explain the difference between the consumer products research and the FDA-related research?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I'm really glad you asked it because it's a world of difference. I mean, it's really a world of difference, especially to the regulatory agencies. So in the United States, of course, the FDA has approved CBD for treating pediatric seizure disorders. The name of that drug is Epidiolex. It, of course, was made famous by GW Pharmaceuticals. That was purchased by Jazz about a year ago. So for seizure applications, the only legal way to use CBD in America today is to use Epidiolex. Now, of course, millions of Americans are buying what we would call retail CBD every day, things that you can buy in the corner store and what have you. The biggest differences are that the retail doses certainly are not manufactured under the strict conditions required for registered drugs. So you never know for sure exactly what you're going to get. But more importantly, there's very little data on the retail brands. So because you don't really know what's in there, you really don't know what effect it might have. And then finally, with regards to Lexaria's own dihydrotec CBD, which we do not sell to retail customers. This is only for B2B and drug purposes. But with dihydrotec processed CBD, because we improve the delivery by 2 to 5 times, imagine that, getting 2 to 5 times more of what you swallow actually reaching your bloodstream. Because of that, the efficacy is several times more powerful. And also because we have also evidenced, although we understand it less, we've also evidenced that dihydrotec CBD actually does something that's called crossing the blood-brain barrier more effectively. So we're actually delivering CBD into brain tissue. And a lot of people don't realize this, but not just diseases like CNS, Alzheimer's, or dementia, but also blood pressure. Did you know that blood pressure is centrally mediated? That means it's your brain that controls the blood pressure in your arteries. Your brain signals the heart how strongly to beat and how quickly to beat. So if you're delivering a blood pressure medication and you're able to get it across the blood-brain barrier, which is a real huge accomplishment, if you're able to do that, the possibility of having greater efficacy is really, really strong. You won't get any of that in retail, corner store bought CBD. You really need to go into the way more extensive testing and trials for safety, but also to show what dose is effective compared to a dose that's not effective.
100%. So we're seeing considerable impact in not just ingesting something with very low levels of impact and efficacy. What you're saying is that with your technology, it's showing considerable results in terms of the impact. Ingesting this, but we're seeing a lot more result because a lot more is actually getting in.
It really is, and there's a really, really key sort of side theme to this that's super important, and that is that, we all know this, whether it's a drug you buy at CVS over the counter, or whether it's something prescribed from your doctor. Almost every drug has some kind of side effect, especially if you take too much. Well, how much is too much? We know that CBD, as tested by GW Pharma through the FDA, has been approved at up to 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, and even up to 20 milligrams per kilogram. Those are doses of, maybe 300 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams per day, depending on your body size. But we also know that for virtually every drug, if you take too much, you will have side effects. So now think about the Hydrotech in light of that. If we can drop the dose by half and give you the same level of a blood saturation with that drug, we also are likely to either drop or eliminate the negative side effects. So the ability of being able to deliver these drugs really, really effectively, it not only drops the quantity that you need, maybe makes them more effective, it also could really significantly improve the side effect profile, which is one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of drug registration in the eyes of the FDA.
Sounds awesome. Tell us more about any new products on the horizon. Is there anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, we do have a number of commercial licensees in the United States, and these are companies that do make retail branded CBD products. All you have to do is search Google with the Hydrotech CBD and you'll find them. We also do a lot of licensing to companies like that. So those products are out there. Another area we're working on, though, is oral nicotine. And the largest tobacco company in America, which is Altria, owners of Marlboro, they've already licensed our tech, and they're examining the tech right now for the possibility of certain oral nicotine products. And to be clear here, we're not advocating that anybody who doesn't already use nicotine should use or would use an oral nicotine product. What we are saying, if you smoke, wouldn't you rather just stay alive? Wouldn't you rather just find a different way of obtaining your nicotine to satisfy your needs, but something that doesn't cause lung cancer or emphysema? And we're really, really proud to be able to say that Lexaria has developed some nicotine powders purified from the tobacco plant that will not cause emphysema, will not cause lung cancers of any kind. And those nicotine powders, we feel, are the most advanced in the world today. And Carmen, we have a human clinical study starting on oral nicotine products within the next 30 days. So there will be news coming by Thanksgiving, Christmas, about whether or not we're actually successful in that field. That is a really, really important market. Most people don't realize the nicotine market is one of the largest industries in the world. It's $1 trillion a year market around the entire world, and it's still killing 7 million people a year, which is completely unnecessary at this point. We think we can really make a change in that industry as well.
That's excellent. Just recently I was reading something about the positive sides to using nicotine in the way you're suggesting. It's that the other constituents of a cigarette, so to speak, are what really cause the damage, right? So this is a very exciting space, and I'm looking forward to seeing that news and the results of that.
Absolutely true. Yeah, and even nicotine is one of the lead candidates in the world today for potential treatment of Alzheimer's. So that's another real possibly positive effect that could come from that.
Right. So having said that, what do you believe the market will look like in 5 years with the use of Lexaria?
Oh my gosh, in 5 years, that's so, we're small, so we move so quickly and so dynamically. I mean, we're in discussions right now with companies like Altria in the United States, also large nicotine companies in Europe, also large pharmaceutical companies around the world. So our tech right now is being evaluated for cannabinoids like CBD for oral nicotine. We did some successful work in the last year on antiviral drugs. proving that we can deliver them more effectively, even on phosphodiesterase inhibitors. Those are drugs that are commonly known like Viagra and Cialis. We can also deliver those more quickly and more effectively. So I think over the next 5 years, you will see us develop a number of really strategic, high-level corporate partnerships. That is our main goal. We are trying to build a company that is something that's called a royalty streaming company, i.e. we rent our technology or license our technology to other companies so that they can use it in their product lines. And because we're, sort of swinging for the fences, if you're going to use an old sports analogy, but because we're doing that, we're trying to work with Fortune 500 or Global 500 companies. And the reason we've done that is because we strategically want to be able to take advantage of their existing regulatory compliance, their existing manufacturing, their existing distribution. Altria, for example, sells their products in, I believe, something like 70,000 stores. So, of course, if we're able to make those relationships work, the increases in cash flow to Lexaria should be really dramatic once they start.
Sounds very exciting. Obviously, there are always, the opposite side to that coin. So what challenges do you currently face, and what do you foresee being a few obstacles to reaching these goals?
It's a great question. And I think for us, it's kind of the classic, mostly generic response, but I think it is an honest one, which is to say, we're a small company. We will, of course, require additional capital as we evolve, although we are very happy that we have no debt. And we're very happy that we have more than a year's worth of capital in the bank today. So we are fully funded. So we're in pretty good shape. That said, we will require additional capital. We hope that we do not need to go to the capital markets again, and that instead those capital needs are met through the as yet unformed strategic partnerships with those Global 500 companies. So we're hoping to perhaps have success on that front in the next 3 months. Otherwise, we will have to raise capital sometime this winter. And then there's always a risk that, in some application, the technology will not work as we expect. That said, with 27 patents and all the work we've done 5 human clinical studies already. We've done dozens of animal studies. We've been examined by the patent examination boards all over the world. I think that if there were something really, starkly negative surrounding the technology, I think we would have discovered it by now. So we're not really expecting any major hiccups there. And then, the markets themselves, when the markets go down, people's appetite for biotech companies certainly decreases. We've certainly experienced that. It's funny. It's funny to me because I've been with the company a long time, and we've made so much progress in the last 1 and 2 years. We've never been as advanced as we are today. And yet, at the same time, we've never had a valuation as low as it is today. Our stock was trading 2 times and 3 times higher most of last year than it is right now. So that's been a challenge for us. But as I say, because we don't need very much capital, that probably is not too big of a risk. So all things considered, the normal risks, you maybe lose key people or financial market risk, things like that. But I don't think there's anything otherwise that's too noteworthy in our operations.
Awesome, thank you. Just to touch a little on the stock price that you've already kind of alluded to, do you believe that the change in the stock price is an accurate reflection of perhaps changes within the company?
Oh, I've been in the markets for a long time, over 40 years, and I know that markets are not rational. I know that there's a lot of academics that would like to convince you that they are, but they're not, because markets respond to human beings. And even if it's a computer, it's still programmed or the buttons pushed by a human being. So markets are not rational, but they try to be rational, and they try to be fairly valued. Our stock was trading between about $6 and $8 most of last year of 2021, got caught up in the biotech meltdown in the fall of last year, and is currently around $3. No, I don't think it's at all an accurate reflection of the value of our company. even if you ignored all of the intellectual property, even if you ignored all of our operations and all of our progress, if you only looked at one thing, and that one thing was, well, a year ago, we had zero involvement with the Food and Drug Administration. Today, we've got a pre-approved plan for an IND program for dihydrotech CBD that we've already completed 5 human clinical studies in which we've already proven its efficacy and its safety. So for that alone, I believe we are undervalued by half or even by 3 times. And then when you add in the value of the intellectual property portfolio, the global patents, for example, we have a patent in the European Union that expressly allows dihydrotech CBD to be used to treat heart disease. That's a valuable patent. So when you add in all these other layers, and then the nicotine work that we're doing as well, I think we're undervalued by five times, maybe 10 times. And I think that once the market starts to thoroughly understand Lexaria's potential, I think that will hopefully resolve itself in the months to come.
Wonderful. So the market, as we've discussed, is constantly fluctuating, and with inflation, the war in Ukraine, Russia, we all know the story. How is that impacting what Lexaria does?
Other than the general market's not too much. We've had a few supply issues that come up from time to time for things that we buy in our normal course of business. So sometimes we're seeing some cost impact on that. But that said, we're talking maybe tens of thousands of dollars per year, not hundreds of thousands or millions. So that's not too dramatic. One of the things we're really proud of is that all of the human clinical work we've been doing through networks that I have in the academic world. And as a result of that, we have saved our shareholders literally millions and millions of dollars by conducting these studies in Eastern Europe at medical research university hospitals. Typically, we're paying, I don't even want to tell people exactly where we're going, but typically we're paying 10 cents to 20 cents on the dollar compared to what we would pay if we were doing the exact same work in the United States. So given that we spent about $2 million last year on those programs, we probably would have spent closer to 15 or 20 million had we done that work in the United States. And that is one of the keys to how we've kept our burn rate so low and how we've kept our share structure so small. So yes, inflation is impacting us. The supply constraints do impact us, but it's pretty modest. And because we're not selling any products to the consumers, it doesn't impact us too much.
Great answer. Chris, I want to hear more about Mr. Chris Bunka. How do you find yourself in this space? Give us a little background on who you are, where you come from, and really what is exciting you the most about where you currently are.
Well, I'm Canadian. And so most Canadians, if they're active in business, are either active in banking and finance or resources, because those are the two overwhelmingly hugest industries in Canada. So I've had a lot of background in my earlier parts of my career in the resource industry, but I was also involved in tech around the time of the dot-com boom and on and off since then. Got really involved in the biotech industry about 10, 12 years ago. So I've been in several different industries over the years. I am entrepreneurial that way, and I'm very proud and happy to have had a number of successful exits over the years. In fact, I did almost 5 years in venture capital as well, so I'm quite accustomed to sitting on the other side of the desk and hearing pitches from people asking for money. I'm getting towards the end of my career, and one of the things after I had a very successful decade or so in oil and gas, one of the things my daughter actually asked me just has never left me, and damn her anyways, but she was so right. And she's a young woman now, but she said to me, Dad, that's so great, thanks for making all the money and making our lives better and all the stuff, but really another tank of gas in somebody's car, is that what you want to be known for?
Right.
And is there ever going to be a point in time for you when it's not about the money and it's about something else? And with Lexaria, it's really about something else. We can literally, I feel like I have a shot at redemption, that we can actually make the world a better place. We can save lives by helping people quit smoking and satisfy their nicotine cravings in a way that won't kill them. That's all. Let's just start there. Or with CBD, because we've discovered, as the world has discovered, this is a really amazing molecule. And because of prohibition around the world for so long, it's really not explored. There are very few opportunities in life to discover a new molecule. So this is a kind of a once in a lifetime moment. And I know, because of my position as a senior executive, I know that our research at Lexaria into cannabidiol is among the top research in the world. I know that we are one of maybe 5 or 10 companies around the planet that has done as much work as we have. So the ability to help people with hypertension or anxiety, the ability to help young people or older people with seizure disorders, because CBD is already approved for that. This is a real great opportunity. So it's something we have a lot of passion for here at Lexaria, and one of the other executives and myself, we have our own children who grew up with seizure disorders. So there's a personal element to that. And I have to tell you, when I talked about Dehydratech acting quickly, so you can take a capsule and it's in your blood in 2 minutes. I tell you what, if you're holding a child and they're having a seizure and it's your child, you're freaking out.
Right.
Every mom and every dad in the world, you're freaking out. And if you can give them a medication that does no harm and takes away the seizure within seconds or minutes, that's it.
Miracles are happening.
Right. So there's a lot of passion behind it, and we really do believe Lexaria is going to make the world a better place.
Excellent, which is a great segue into the announcement of the availability of a broadcast title, right? I think it's the power of science to stop a killer.
Absolutely. How often do you get an opportunity like this? So, for me, I'll always be at least, partly about the money. My job here is to create value for my shareholders. We have 10,000 shareholders. We're broadly held, lots of tiny shareholders. I speak to all of them, throughout the years. I speak to some of them every single day, and they're rooting for us. So I know, and I've had so many stories from people who have been able to use Dehydratech CBD products under license from other companies. And if they've shared with me their personal stories of their wives and children and parents who have been helped with Dehydratech CBD. And so, that's a really powerful motivator for us as well. And I think over time, these value propositions are going to be recognized by the marketplace. And I think for our shareholders, not only will they feel good about, making money, but they'll feel good about the way in which we're making money. So I think it's a win-win.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that roundup. Chris Bunka, where can we find more information, at least our viewers, if you want to direct them to our website or anywhere they can find more information?
Yeah, I think our website is fantastic. Lexaria, LEXARIA, Bioscience, one word, .com, LexariaBioscience.com. All of our contact information is there, and it's an exhaustive website, so anything that you could possibly want. Or, we're listed on NASDAQ, so just type in our symbol, LEXX, and virtually all of the platforms carry information on us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. A great conversation and a lot of valuable information. And of course, just to remind you that you are a highly valued client of Sequire. So never not know that. No, thank you for partnering with us and giving us the opportunity to partner with you in this great journey.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all your support.
Of course. So I'm Carmel Fisher. You're watching the Sequire Spotlight. I just had a great conversation with Chris Bunka, the CEO of Lexaria Bioscience, with the NASDAQ ticker LEXX. Stay tuned for more.